Okay, hello everybody. It's not on yet. We are going to talk about how to hold your position. Before we get started, had a couple more videos deleted off of YouTube and one off Facebook as well, and two off Instagram. So if you're not yet on tombarnett.tv, jump on the mailing list. I have actually finished the site, so we're going to launch it in the next couple of days. Just getting a couple more little tweaks done, but it's finally finished, so that'll stop me getting cancelled and deleted off of various platforms. So hi to anyone that's just joined. We have just started. So what we're talking about today is the idea of holding your position, what it means, what it is, hey Kim, and why it's important, why it's so important. Because at the moment what I see is a lot of people doing really well at getting part of the way, but we're not really getting things over the line the way they should be going when it comes to standing up for our rights and, you know, saying no to tyranny. Holding your position is a concept that I learned from Mark Patelik from Solutions Empowerment. It's something that I've embodied myself, and it's something that a lot of people have learned but don't necessarily do effectively. So what I'm going to be sharing with you today is how to go about doing that, and why it's not just a case of listening to something and then trying to repeat it back, because it's more often than not, it's not going to work out for you the way you might expect. And expectations is another key point. Now, this is important right at this point in time because I think that our mask mandate thingy around Byron was lifted overnight. I'm not sure because I don't log on to stuff and find out, but it was supposed to have been lifted. So this is important because it means that we still need to be diligent in doing and continuing the great work that we've been doing for the last week. And this goes for anybody around the world too, not just people in Byron. It is way too common for people to do something great. They say no, they go out and they be creative, they get things happening, and then all of a sudden they just go back to doing what they were doing. We cannot let that happen now. We need to maintain the momentum that we've built up. For example, some geniuses, won't say who, I don't know who, put up those signs at the Cabin Bar Centre in Byron outside the PCR testing, right? Anal swabs this way, common sense this way. And that made the mainstream news. The mainstream news reported that the COVID testing site was basically empty on the weekend, and they attributed it to the signs. And I don't think it was the signs, but I think it was still genius whoever did that, and made a video about it. And then, not a video about it, but featured it in a video. And that's great. And it's being creative and it's being proactive. So now that mask mandates are lifted, I think, either way, it doesn't matter. We need to continue exactly what we're doing. If you put yourselves in the shoes of those who are the oppressors, you got to think, how would you play it? One of the best ways to take over a place is to give them a little bit. Don't go in full force. You give them a little taste, then you pull back and you watch them go to sleep. And that's when you come in. When they're sleeping up on the hill, there's no more enemy at the gate. And then you let them fall asleep and then you go and take whatever you like. That's basically like a very old tactic. Played a lot of times, very effective, but we need to make sure that that's not us. We're not those ones sleeping. And that goes for everybody else around the world too. So remembering that creativity is so important in this time, because we are more creative than them. They're just going by a narrative that everybody knows. I mean, not just me, I don't want to say me, but I've been saying most of what I'm saying now for 20 years. Some of it for 10 years, but I don't think I've said anything new in the last 10 years. People before me have been saying it for decades before that, you know? So it's nothing new. We know the narrative, we know where it's going, we always knew where it was going to go, and people always, you know, called it names and whatever, shrugged it off. It'll never happen. And then we go to sleep. We get too complacent. We're too caught up with using things like the internet. We're too caught up with making money and just getting convenience and things, and not really doing things for ourselves. And that's been a big wake up call for most people over 2020. So which has been great, and a lot of people would agree with that. They've said that, hey, you know what? Despite it being on the surface a bit disruptive and not cool, they've come to some deeper realizations about what's most important in their life. So I think that's a very positive element to what's going on. So creativity, moving that into holding a position. So holding a position is defined as, or I would define it as, pretty much just sticking to your guns. Now, you take a certain stance or narrative and you do not let anybody sway you from that. Here's an example. Somebody says, or you ask somebody a question, you're standing up for your rights, or it's a police officer or something, and you do one of your things, where's your authority, or what's your name, who are you, all that sort of stuff. And they come back with anything other than the answer. So you're essentially guiding yourself to a certain point, or guiding them to a point, and they're trained not to do that, so they just completely ignore it and ask you a question back. Now, what a lot of people do is they say, oh, it didn't work. But they failed at the outset. Now, people out there in the world of the public are incriminating themselves all of the time, every single day. All of the time. They are constantly incriminating themselves. It's like bright pickings. For anybody that actually wanted to make some money from, say, suing people, it's there for taking. But we're not really talking about suing people, because that's going into that combative kind of mentality. What we're talking about is simply holding position, because people are incriminating themselves all of the time. So we can either just let them do that, or B, we can set them up, because they're pretty much going to do it anyway. So how do we set people up to incriminate themselves? Well, incriminating oneself is simply a matter of making claims and not backing it up. Claims such as, yes, you have to sign in here. Yes, you must have a QR code app, the COVID app. Yes, you must wear a mask. Yes, you must stay in your house. Yes, you must get a test. All of these are complete bullshit, and people aren't calling them on it. Now, some people are, and this is why I'm doing this live stream, because some people are going to step one and going, well, where's your source of authority? Or they're going down do we have agreement that I'm a man or a woman road, which isn't the right road in this circumstance. But the point being, they do that, they do step one, and then they come back with something they don't expect. No, I'm not doing that, or whatever. Yes, you do have to take your temperature, and that's it. They stop. Why would you stop there? Once you start down the road of directing the conversation or the narrative, you keep it there. It does not matter what they say in return or in response, you keep it there. You say, look, that's not the answer to my question. That's not what I asked. That's a yes or a no answer, or something to that effect. So I'll ask you again. And you ask your question again. Then they'll try to derail it again. No, I'm not going to do that. Well, with respect, you can do whatever you like, but that's still not the answer to my question. So for the third and final time, right? That's how you hold your position. Now, I hear people saying things all the time out there, and they're saying stuff like, you do have to sign in, you do, and nobody's just going, what? Hang on, what did you say? Can you repeat that? Did you just tell me, because I thought I heard you just say that I have to have a COVID app. I have to scan here, otherwise I can't come in. Is that what you're saying? Have I got that wrong? Have I misunderstood you? Or is that what you're saying? Put them on the spot. People aren't doing that. I don't know whether it's out of a fear of most people don't like confrontation. I do it in a way that's almost a bit jovial, so I'm not really like, oh, what did you say? I'm doing it more like, did I just hear you say that I can't, am I getting it right? Hang on, just excuse me while I just clean some wax out of my ear. Now go again. Did you just say that I have to sign in here? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're telling me? I say it like that. And what? And I get a good response almost all the time. And if somebody gets aggro or aggressive, I mean, believe me, I can be the same back. I've won't tell you what I've done in the past, but it's simply a case of meeting the energy in any situation. That's like the next level up from being, expecting the worst pretty much. But then the level above that is creating the energy. And you really can, no matter who is at a door or a whatever it is, usually a door, if you're going into a shop or a venue or whatever, you can create the energy before you even get there. And it's what you carry. Bearing in mind that nobody is at a place of business losing sleep overnight, making notes when they go home from work from making $20 an hour, going, oh, I know what I'm going to do to stop these people questioning my COVID stance. They don't care about that. They just want to get on with their day, make their minimum wage and go home. Not many of them actually are going to be awake after hours. I'm going to solve this, because they probably don't believe it either, but they're between a rock and a hard place. So I like to put myself in their shoes, understand where they're coming from. Why are they going to ask me to put on a mask? Why are they going to ask me to take a test or whatever? So I treat them the way I think I would like to be treated, first and foremost, and I create the energy. So I'm going in without having an enemy at the gate. They're not an enemy in front of me. They're just somebody else who, outside of them trying to make us do something illegal, I might be friends with, okay? So holding your position then comes from allowing people to incriminate themselves and then putting them on the spot immediately. What did you just say? Hang on, wait. I thought, no, hang on. No, I heard what you said. Or you can continue after I asked you a question. Now, I thought I just heard you say this. Is that right? Is that what you're telling me? You see how many questions I'm asking in a row? I'm saying, did you just ask this? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're telling me? It's like bang, bang, bang. It's not just like, are you telling me this? You can do that. It's just that there's ways to play it where the energy can increase and you can maintain a lot more control. Now, one of my friends sent me a video where one of his friends was at Woolworths at Byron Bay. And the security guard, wearing a mask and everything, said, you can't come in without a mask. The guy says, I have the exemption. Now, the security guard says, well, you have to show me that, otherwise you're not coming in. Now, if you've been, up to date with pretty much anything, you know that that's not true. They absolutely cannot ask you for your personal information, particularly your medical information. That is protected under the Privacy Act. That is protected under, actually, several laws, but basically the Privacy Act. So, point being that they can't ask you that. They're absolutely not a medical professional, and even if they were, they still can't ask you. They're a security guard making $25 an hour or something, and wishing they were doing something else, and they're not there to ask you for your exemption. Alright, so this guy actually stood in front of the guy trying to get in and wouldn't let him in, and then proceeded to give him a wrong name. Now, he said his name was such and such, but the name on his tag, which, good thing the guy was filmed his name tag and said, what, don't you mean your name's this? Can't remember the guy's name, and I wouldn't name it anyway on the air, but point being is he's going to get in some trouble from here on in. Now, how could you have gone about that and held your position? Well, if you've said to somebody, well, I've got a medical exemption, he says, well, you have to show me that. So did you just, wait, hang on, pause for a second. So see where I'm going already? I'm not going into combative mode. I'm not going into, yes, I can, you can't ask me for my information, right? I just go, wait, hang on, pause for a second. Did you just say that I have to show, hang on, did I hear that right? See, I'm making a bit of a joke about it and not like being as combative. I'm just kind of like, definitely being firm, but it's going, did you just say that I have to show you my private personal information that's protected under the Privacy Act? Did I hear it wrong? Say it again. Come on, help me out. Is that what you just told me? That's how I handle people, especially if they're young. That's how I handle them, the young ones in the stores. This was an old security guard, but that's how I would handle that. Now, he might be more staunch after that. He doesn't like you being friendly and jovial, so he's like, you have to show me, you can't come in, get out, that kind of thing. So, well, look, the thing about that is, it's my belief you're absolutely wrong. Now, I don't have anything against you personally, but the thing is you absolutely cannot ask for my private personal information, and I am absolutely going to this store. Now, you'll need to step aside, because if you lay a finger on me, I'll charge you with assault. At the moment, you can actually be charged with invasion of privacy and breaking several laws, but if you assault me, that'll be the end of your job. Now, step aside, please. Thank you very much for asking, but I'm saying no. And you walk. You don't stop and you go, can you engage me more, please? You don't do that. You create the energy. That's how I would handle that situation. But can you see how we're going with a different strategy from just, is this the law? Is that a law? Tell me what law that is. You can be a bit more creative. Creativity is key with all of this. I'll get more into the creativity. So, the other thing about this, though, is why are you going to the Woolworths? Like, really? There's a lot of stores, and I won't name them, that aren't even bothering to ask you to do stuff. And they're part of us. They're like the organic stores, like the farmers market stores and stuff. Like, why are you going into Woolworths in the first place? Fair enough. If you run out of tampons, or if you run out of whatever, and you're like going to make a mess, you don't have any toilet paper, sure, you might have to go into Woolworths. But really, there's almost always an alternative to shopping at the major outlets that are literally raping everybody. Like, we don't need to support them in the first place. So that's where I'm going to also pose a question is, are you going, like pubs? Now, don't take this as judgment. Just because I don't drink doesn't mean you suck if you do drink. But it's like people are going, oh, the pub's not letting me in. I'm going to have to find a different place to drink. And I'm kind of going like, can you think of something better to do than go to a pub and drink? Like, that's the last place I would want to be is a pub. I cannot stand the energy in a pub. It's just, again, it's not my thing. Doesn't mean it can't be your thing. But it's like, I wouldn't personally be complaining about going into that kind of a place and not being able to get in. You know, it's kind of like, well, it's almost like they're doing you a favor. It's like, hey, here's the easy places to get in that are good for you, and here's the places that are making it really hard. But at the same time, there's absolutely no reason why you can't hold your position the way I just explained before in these kinds of places, because, hey, maybe these are the people that need to be made the example of. So by all means, go to the pub and stand your ground. Let them try to put a finger on you, all that sort of stuff. Because here's the next part. Even if they do something like they grab you or whatever, forcefully eject you, well, now you've got a litigation case on your hands. You absolutely can take that to the standard system, standard police station, standard court system. Don't worry about the private system, just the public system. And you can charge them with assault and a number of other things. Breach of civil liberties for one, attempted breach of privacy. That's also an assault. Making somebody feel uncomfortable and coercing them and putting them under duress is assault. They don't have to like physically touch you or hit you. That's physical assault, or that's aggravated assault. But there's many forms of assault, and just standing over you, that's assault. Threatening you with something, that's assault. You know, there's a lot of breaches going on there, so you can do that. Now, maybe you're the type of person that doesn't want to go down that road. Fair enough, whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm just pointing out how to hold your position. Now, getting into creativity is key. So I learned all of this from Mark Patelic, but I kind of didn't. I took his material, and then where it didn't work... Oh, hey, Sharon. I'm starting to actually read some of these. Normally they put me off and I forget what I'm saying, so I don't realize, but hey, guys. And it's really important to be creative. A lot of other people went to the same workshops I went to, got the same book that I got, and they don't know how to do half of this stuff. What's the difference? Well, the difference is that I figured out what he was saying. I didn't just go, well, he says this, and go, oh, so I say that. That's not what I did. I listened to what he's saying and I broke it down. I go, what is he actually doing? What is it that he's actually saying and where's it coming from? I learned that, and then I created my own ways of speaking. Okay, so he's basically not letting them deflect him off of his path. And if they say something, he usually comes back to, well, that's not what I asked. You know, that's his words that I learned. But I learned how to be creative and put it into a different context. Learn how to do the whole verbal judo thing and whatever. So it really comes down to, I said this on a number of live streams and interviews. Creativity is so key in all of this. Coming up with ways to dance around some of these some of the nonsense and to get more people on side. It all comes from creativity. So I really, I do encourage people to embrace their own creativity and find ways to make yourself more effective without thinking you have to go to 50 law seminars, or I'm not smart enough to learn that, because it's absolutely not the case. None of that's true. It's just a matter of just being here, in your center. And that's where it all comes from. So that's my final bit of advice on it, is that if you do not come from your center, you are going to be taken for a ride. You can't hold your position. Holding your position is a verbal or a state of mind, but it comes from here. You have to absolutely be resolutely centered and anchored and grounded, and then nothing can take you off your path. But if you're like all, oh my God, no matter what you do, as soon as they dance around you, you're going to be thrown into their little cyclone of stuff and taken off your feet. And that happens a lot. I hear from so many people, I did what you said, and it didn't work. And it's like, what do you mean it didn't work? Oh, no, I said that I needed to do this, or I didn't have to do that, and they said no, and that was it. And it's like, that's not what I do. That's not what I said. You didn't do it. It's that you didn't work. It's not that it didn't work, it's that you didn't work. First of all, maybe you tried to learn what I say and repeat what I say. That's not what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to do what I did and be creative. Learn from what I do, what Mark does, what other people that succeed with this stuff do. Nick Patterson, when he held off 20-something police outside of his martial arts gym. What are we doing? Then embody that, get creative with it, and come back out. But if you don't hold your sense of self and center, you're not really going to succeed with it. So that is about the simplest bit of advice, but maybe the most complex for some, is that it's not about learning a whole bunch of new stuff, like learning new. It's really about remembering who you are in the first place. It's one of my favorite expressions, is just to remember who you are. I mean, all of us came through, we have a genetic memory that goes back a long way. And for us to be here, you know, we've been through this before. We've been through a lot worse than what is here now, and we've survived it. We've found a way to survive and to push through it, and to not just survive, but to actually be creative and thrive, and be, you know, be tapped into something much bigger and higher and greater than us. And we've done that. All of us have done that. And that's in our memory. So we really only have to remember who we are. And there's really nothing that we can't achieve as a result of that. Now, I'll finish with, I was going to do a separate live stream on it, but I'll just cover it here. We have this concept in Western society of zero value. So if you take the number 0, there is actually no such thing as zero value. There is nothing in our known realm that has no mass or no energy. Nothing. So 0 is a relative term. It's like a relative integer. It's like somewhere to signify going from the positive, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to infinity, to the negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to infinity. That way, it's simply a reference point. It's not a number. There is nothing at all that has 0 value. So quite often I hear people say, "Oh, I've got nothing left," or "I've got, you know, I'm down to 0," or whatever. I've got no this. I've got no energy, no money, no whatever, no love, whatever. But there's no such thing as no thing, as nothing, as no value. So it's important to realize that there is something there. You just have to find it first and foremost. And second of all, it comes down to choosing to live. So we see, by the fact that 0 is not, you know, has no value, there's like this default decision that gets made when we don't choose, or we choose not to do something, or we don't choose to do something proactive. By default, we choose to do the opposite, because you can't have 0. You can't have nothing happening. So if I don't choose to, you know, say no to things and make a stand, then there's no such thing as like, oh, it's all right, it'll just all go away, because like, I won't be positive, but I won't be negative. It'll just be like in the middle, but that doesn't exist. Because by default, you're choosing not to do that. The simplest way to understand the concept is choosing to live. If you do not choose to live every single day in every single moment, then by default, you are choosing not to live. So that might look like an instantaneous act of suicide. Don't want to live anymore. Or it could be a 50 years slow decay into death, where every single day you're technically not alive, because you're not choosing to live. So if you're not choosing to live, by default, you're choosing not to live. That's not a good way to live your life. And I see it a lot in some of the apathy or the fear or the refusal to actually step into yourself and remember who you are. That's choosing not to live. So I encourage you to, you know, you can do whatever you like. Every experience is of equal value. And we need people like that in the world. You know, we need people to be lazy and apathetic in that, because God, or the all-knowing, has to have all of the experiences in order to become wise. So every experience needs to be had. We need those people who are opposing us. We need the people who are lazy and aren't getting off their ass and doing anything about it. We need the psychopaths. We need everybody. That's what the world is. It's how it works. Obviously, these live streams aren't going out to those people. So for people watching this, I encourage you to remember that, remember who you are, and to actively choose to participate in your own experience, your own life. Choose the experiences that you want to have. Create the energy. When you go somewhere, you're walking into that store. You're going wherever you like without a face shield. You're never going to get a shot of any kind for the rest of your life. You create the energy because you decide. You get what I mean? You're choosing to live. You're creating the energy. It's all your choice. You're creating the experiences that you wish to have. And that's all it comes down to. Nobody can take that away from you. Speaking of creativity, I'm going to do another live stream in an hour or so on some art therapy. I'm just saying it now so that I actually have to hold myself to it, so I don't just decide not to do it. So thanks for watching. Hope that helped. And let's just keep it going. Yeah, let's not sleep on everything. Oh yeah, we survived a week of masks and stuff. Like, that's not the end of it. We know that. So let's not sleep on it. Let's continue the momentum we built up. Continue the creativity. Let's choose to live, and let's choose to make this experience ours. So thanks for watching. Remember, tombarnett.tv. If you haven't signed on to the mailing list, go ahead, because I keep getting stuff deleted off these channels. All right, see ya.